So you may be wondering, why am I wearing a coat in the middle of summer at the pool? Well, it's getting pretty hot out here, so I'm beginning to wonder the same thing. I want to talk a little bit today about economics. Yes, I know that a lot of you are probably going, it's the worst class I had in college, or it's probably the worst subject I can imagine talking about. But realistically, it's every day. Every day we are impacted by something to do with an economic theory. So I want to talk about supply and demand a little bit. That's why I'm wearing the coat. So if you're like us, my family, we tend to want to find things when they are priced well. In other words, we want to find things that are on discount, very low sticker price, if you will. Sometimes you have to do that when those items are not necessarily needed at that point in time. So coats, we buy our coats after the winter season when nobody really wants them. We're looking for things that we don't need now. We're looking for things we're going to use later. In this case, months and months later, definitely not in the middle of summer. But it is important that we understand how supply and demand affects those prices. So quickly, and you easily can common sense this, is that if things aren't really wanted at a time, people aren't demanding them, the prices have to come down. Retailers, goods and services have to be reduced in price so people will be willing to buy those things. So prices will continue to fall until we all, as consumers, agree to buy it at that price, and that's where it levels out. If you remember those graphs, if you took an economics class, supply and demand curves, that's exactly how they work. If things are in high demand, then prices go up. Everyday life, we've seen that a lot in the last number of years as the economy has changed. So think about inflation. Inflation is basically a change in prices, so it is essentially related to, do we want stuff or not? Retailers don't set the price per se. We do as consumers. Retailers set the price for what they think or what they see us buying things at. So inflation changes with our demand and the supply that's there. You can see that with interest rates. Interest rates are set by supply and demand. You know, do we need loans? If we don't need loans, they continue to drop interest rates until we borrow money. Are we saving? They continue. If we're not saving, they raise interest rates more to get us to save money in banks and other places. We've seen that with housing for sure. I'm at Georgia Club today. Probably give them props on the best pool of any club anywhere around. But looking at the houses around Georgia Club, the price appreciation has been crazy in the housing market because people are demanding houses. That's why the prices have gone up, which has also caused price of materials to go up from that. So it's supply demand again, and there's becoming less supply because there's less houses on the market to buy, so prices continue to inflate. And then we get desperate wanting to buy a house, which is driving prices up even more. We see that with salaries in jobs. If employers are finding a hard time getting good labor, they increase salaries because the supply is not there. So they're trying to get people to come work for them. They have to increase salaries. We see that with the used auto market over the last number of months. Have you seen used car prices skyrocket? Well, there's a shortage in new cars, and so there's a demand for cars, and used cars went up in price because there's a limited supply of automobiles with still a high demand. Okay, supply and demand economics again. And of course we see that in the markets, investment markets, such as stocks, bonds, commodities, and things. So if people want to buy stocks, if they see their neighbors and their friends and their family making money in the stock market, they want to be a part of that. Demand increases, they may get rid of other things they have. They may sell real estate, they may sell bonds, they may get out of cash in the banks and put that in the stock market, again causing more demand in the stock market, and causing the price of the market to increase. That's how this works. What supply-demand curves can't really tell us is whether something's overvalued or undervalued. One thing, let's go back to the coat example again. So when we decide when's a good time to buy or sell something, we can look at seasonality or cycles. With buying a coat in the past of winter months entering the spring month, It's easy. It happens every year exactly the same. There's really not any kind of science behind that. Well, I guess there's science with weather, but there's not really science of us making a decision to do that. That we just know when that's going to happen. With houses, cars, other things, we don't know what the cycle is. We don't know how the length of the different peaks and troughs in the cycle. We don't know the full length of a cycle, so it's really hard to determine those types of things. So I say that with caution. I say that because we see that with, let's use two examples, in the housing market and the stock market. Some people will believe that there is a lot of overvaluation in things because there's high demand again. And they'll just make a decision like, I'm going to wait a little while. I won't need those things, but I'm going to wait to see if there's going to be a dip, a pullback, a drop in prices so that they can buy at a good time. Well, one of the problems there is they wait too long. They continue to wait, and maybe something does dip in the cost or the price, and they buy on that dip. Realistically, in a lot of cases, we've already seen this, is that when they bought on the dip, they actually still paid more than they would have paid had they got in when they wanted or needed that good or service, in the cases I mentioned, housing or stock market. So be very careful about waiting too long if you want and need something. And another thing I see people get trapped in sometimes is skepticism buying on discount. So, for example, when things are really cut in prices, people get worried that they're cut for a reason, as is maybe the good and service is defective, maybe it's old, maybe it's out of, nobody wants it anymore, never will, I'm not going to buy that, I'll buy the next thing. So that's not always the case, and it's case by case with you too. For example, let's go back to coats again since we're sweating. We buy off season, we buy out of season coats. So to us, it has zero value right now. This coat has zero value to me today because I'm sweating. I don't need it on except to film this video. So, and I can't walk around here today and sell this coat. Now I probably could if I just said I'll take nickels for it, because nobody really wants it today. And plus it's an old coat now. But there's nothing wrong with it when we bought it. We knew that we were fine buying something at a deep discount because it had value to us later. It didn't that day, but we were fine putting it in our inventory, our closets. Retailers want to get it out of their inventory and they sell it at a discount. We're fine paying those cheaper prices, putting it in our inventory. So some people are skeptical at times to buy anything that is at a discount. That could be automobiles, that could be merchandise, that could be stocks or any other type of investment, because they're worried it must not be any good because it's been discounted. That's not actually the supply demand curve has changed, so it changed the prices. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. All right, so don't get caught up in it's on sale or it's heavily discounted, I don't want to get it because of that, because I'm worried there's something wrong with it. That's definitely not always the case. Talk about these kind of things. That's a quick little share of how supply demand works. It's common sense. You can figure that out going to the grocery store or any kind of retail store for sure on your own without me telling you that. But it's good to every once in a while remind people how that works. I love economic theory. I love laws and principles like supply and demand. So if you ever want to have a deeper conversation with any of those types of things, I'm a guy to call, because I'm a dork with that kind of stuff. Going back to clothes, it's bathing suit season. What does that mean? Not because it's pretty and beautiful out here and I need to put on a bathing suit and jump in the pool. It's getting bathing suit season because guess what? Retailers are starting to put their bathing suits on sale. So we're actually we'll buy our next round of household bathing suits probably within the August to September time frame, about the time retailers start trying to dump their inventory out. Obviously we don't need them through the winter months, but as we head into next spring, we definitely will. So we're going to get things at a discount at a good price. It has value to us later. And the only caveat with that is just hoping and praying that we don't do anything through the winter months to cause those bathing suits not to fit when we enter the pool season next year. So with that, have a